It's finally happened. Guess who I have? Guess who I have on my motherfucking podcast? She finally
Hey,
is here. Alana Moor.
hey,
How's it?
what's
Hey,
up?
buddy.
You made me feel special. Stop
Well,
that.
it's what I
I
do.
appreciate you. I appreciate you, girl. I'm happy to be here. Listen, it's like we have to support each other and all of our
I
dreams, all of
do.
our aspirations, and we just have to be consistent.
Preach
That's it.
it. Okay, so I've been wanting to get this bitch on the podcast forever. Well, ever since I
Hey,
met her, actually, and that hasn't been forever, but whatever. I feel like we've known each other now for ever,
yeah,
right?
that's
It's
just the
like,
soul bond.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally. And we met on Instagram Live.
we
But
did.
I want everybody to know you. And I talk about you all the time. I even talk like on my Instagram lives, like your whole fucking story is so unbelievable that and you're standing and you're still fucking here and you're still going. So I just want I everybody needs to know this story. They just do. So
Yeah,
I
thank you.
want to know. So you went to prison, right?
I did. Yeah, I did.
How'd you get there?
I went to prison in 2015. I was sentenced to 81 months for international drug trafficking.
Damn.
And the thing about me, Val, is that I was in 2015, I had just graduated from college in Toronto. I wanted to be a fashion designer. And I basically got hooked into the lime life. I got hooked in with people that were, hanging out with celebrities and in that lifestyle. And I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a famous fashion designer. And so I started working with this girl who was sort of this up and coming singer. She would do these big parties, and I was working as a bottle service girl at her parties. And she knew that I was desperate to get to the top. And she saw
Okay.
weakness in me, if I talk
Oh
about it like
shit.
that.
Okay.
And so, I remember one day she gave me a call. She called me up and she said, listen, I have an opportunity for you. Come to my office. And at that time, I had started my clothing line with my own money, $7,000 I had invested. And had this vision and this goal to be that famous fashion designer that I had always wanted to be. That was it. And
Okay.
so I went to her office, and I remember there was a guy in there with her. And we will never talk about who he was, but associated with one of the most famous artists in the world.
Okay.
And they said to me, listen, we have an opportunity for you to go to Panama. We want to thank you for the job and the work that you've done. And, do you want to go? And I was like,
Well, hold
well,
on a second. They
they,
said we
and they,
want to thank you. Hold on. Let's go back. So they
yeah,
call you in this office. This dude's there, she's there, and you work so hard, and we
yeah.
want to thank you and give you an opportunity. That's how they
Yeah. So
positioned it.
there was, yeah. So that was that was the sales campaign. Let's call it that, right? They knew what they were doing. And, I've always been a little bit like rough around the edges and just like willing to do whatever at times. So they
Okay.
knew that I would say yes. They knew that I would say yes. I got that little bit of, whatever in me. They knew I would say yes. So they they started it with that, right? They finished it with, we want you to bring a bag back. And my first question was, is it drugs?
Okay.
And I remember the girl looked at me and she was like, you don't have to worry about that. And the guy stepped in and he's like, listen, like, you're part of this family now. You're good. Like, nothing is going to happen to you. So they dodged around the question of the fact that, yes, it was drugs. And I knew I was getting into something, but I didn't know what. And
Okay.
I didn't care. I didn't care. I felt like I had made it. I felt like I was in this position where these like big name people were about to take care of me, and they were going to make sure. And I remember he was like, you're going to be in this artist, you're going to be in his music videos, you're going to be styling his music videos. Like, they were selling me this life that I wanted, and it was right there, and all I had to do to get it was go to Panama, have a 7 day long vacation, bring a bag back, and that was it.
Is it-
And of course, I said yes.
Okay, so you get there. You go, you have your 7-day vacation, and you're coming back. Then what?
So I get to the airport. The night before, I'm like sick to my stomach. I know something's wrong. And I've been given this bag and I've put my things in it, and it looks like a normal suitcase. Let me tell everybody. Like, it looks like a normal suitcase, okay? I
Okay.
put all of my stuff in it. I get up to leave. We get to the airport, and I'm thinking that it's drugs. I had this sort of like feeling. And I remember being really nervous about the drug dogs. And we walk through the very first door, and this drug dog walks by and nothing happens. Another one, nothing happens. So I get this newfound confidence. I think, okay, it's probably money, passport, something like that. So I go wait in line. I go through security. I'm waiting. I can see the plane. Like, it's a small airport. And they come up on the loudspeaker, and I got taken into the back. So I was there with somebody else, which we will never talk about, but they asked her to go into the back. They said, hey, like, we need you to come into the back. And she came out and she's like, they want to look through my bag. And I remember I called the girl over and over and over and over again to be like, what is going on? What's in the bag? I need to know. And she
Yeah,
never answered.
of
So I remember
course.
we went into the back. Yeah. Yeah. We went into the back. There was just like, it was mayhem. It was chaos. People were yelling at me in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish at this time.
Hmm.
And they took us in the back. I was sat there for 5 hours. A prosecutor, what I now know to be, the prosecutor came in, sat down, did the whole thing. I signed my life away, and they opened, went through the bag, and there was 11 kilos of cocaine in the
Oh
back
my
of my
God.
suitcase.
Oh, oh my
And
God.
it's not funny. And I
It's
remember I just was like, I was panicked, and I started to
no
cry, and I
shit.
just thought, okay, my life's over.
So
Yeah. And
did
so,
these did they
go
come
ahead.
to you? Obviously they didn't come to your fucking rescue, these pieces of shit.
No, they wanted to. I mean, you know that this is how it works in this game, right? They need to take the smaller players, and that's how they continue to say that they're fighting the war on drugs, right? They take the smaller players, they give them some time, and they can keep those percentages up. So they handcuffed me. They took me to what I now know to be a male prison, where I was ankle shackled and wrist shackled for 3 days. And I had one bottle of water, and a
For three
guy that was
days.
in the prison. Yeah, a guy that was in the prison, who today is the father of my child.
Oh,
There, I'm giving you a lot of good information on this
oh
podcast that no one's
snap.
ever heard.
Okay.
Heard that there was a beautiful Canadian girl and sent food out for me.
Aw.
And I didn't meet him for 4 years after this, but I find this out later. And they sent one bottle of water, a bottle of Coca-Cola, and one meal. I had no toilet paper, no shower, nothing for 3 days. I was in my winter clothes because I was heading back in February in the middle of summer in Panama.
Oh my
And that
God.
was it. And I was
So,
sentenced to 6 months. I was sentenced to 6 months because you're guilty until proven innocent.
okay.
And then I would be sentenced a year and a half later.
So you're in jail. And oh my
I'm
gosh,
in jail.
like what is going through your mind? Like you've never been to
I
jail
mean,
before in Toronto, nothing. Like you've
no,
never been in trouble.
no. I've never been to jail before. I have never been to jail before. I was not, like, I was around like D boys and things like that. You know, I wanted to be involved in that kind of lifestyle, but I was not drug dealing. I was nothing. It was just, the party life. So
Okay.
I remember on the dirt road that was like a kilometer long, driving up to the prison, I was panicking because I thought I literally could see them. They were about to throw me into the middle of this prison ground, and I was going to have to fight for my life so that I didn't become somebody's bitch. That's
Oh,
really what I thought was about to happen. And I really believed I was about to, either get the shit kicked out of me, or, I was scared. I was panicking. It's like you see all these videos, all these movies, Orange is the New Black. I'm like, what am I getting into? I have no idea. Well,
no
let me tell you,
shit, you
Val.
were fucking panicking. Like I
Okay,
don't
but
know what I would do.
but then I pull up and I hear salsa music. I see girls in pink. There was this outdoor area that was all, had fences around it. And there's girls in short shorts and pink t-shirts getting their hair blow dried with big rollers on their hair, listening to salsa music. I remember there were girls like up against the fence staring at me, just screaming, "My friend, I love you forever." And I thought, where the
What?
fuck am I? Getting their nails done, getting their hair done, because I arrived to prison on Saturday. And Saturday is the day before Sunday, which is visit day. And so on Saturday, they open up the prison like a salon, and all the girls get their hair done, nails done, eyelashes, eyebrows. It's just like more of a chill day in prison. So I walked in with that being
Your
my
first day.
first introduction to prison. And I still, I'm a jokester. So I was still kidding. I remember I got off and I got handcuffed and I pretended to run away. And I was laughing with guards and making jokes, panicking inside. But I'm like, I had this sort of thought from the moment that I got there. I always felt like I knew this was going to happen to me. And I always felt as if I needed to make this situation become good enough to tell in a book and in a Netflix show at some point. So I tried everything, I did everything, and I just went, okay, there's nothing I can do to change it. This sucks. But
doesn't anybody
I
from
know.
Canada help you?
Yeah, so
how
that's a
does
whole
that
nother. Yeah, so the embassy gets involved 3 days after I was there, or 3 days after I was there, because it was Saturday. So Saturday I was there, Sunday I was there, so Monday. So 2 days after I got there, the embassy shows up. They make sure that you're good. They did. The embassy was incredible with me.
Okay.
And I mean, absolutely top notch, top tier. The thing is when you're a foreigner in a country, there are different rules that they have to follow. So there were some things that were different, but the embassy was amazing. They went out, they bought me a pink t-shirt. They got us some snacks to eat. I was in this high security cell by myself for 45 days because I couldn't be with the general population, right? It was loud, it was wild, girls were banging on the walls and swearing, and there were fights, and it was a lot of stimulation to walk into. And so you have to just be very, how do you even describe it? Just in the moment. Just in the moment. Just in the moment. It's a different world.
So you're in this
It's a different world.
jail. You don't even know how to speak the fucking language.
None, not a word. Not a word.
So how did you get by at the beginning?
Yeah, so I just, a lot of hand signals. I remember the director, the very first time I spoke to her on the Monday, because there's nobody in the prison on weekends. So I didn't see anybody until the Monday. She handed me a dictionary, and that's how I survived for the first little while. I made a choice very quickly that I was going to learn Spanish fluently. So I was in it, figuring out how to do it, but I conversed with people through my dictionary. So I would I would look up the word. I remember the very first sentence that I learned in Spanish was, "I'm hungry." And if anybody knows me, they know that I'm a foodie. So I would just walk up to girls and they'd be like, "Mami, ¿cómo estás?" And I'd go, "Tengo hambre." And all of a sudden, girls, you'd see them running out with little juice boxes and little crackers, and they'd be giving me food. But I did it like that. The very first thing, other than that, I learned agua por favor, because I learned that there was a fridge outside that had cold water in it. So you could ask for cold water at any time. Okay. So it was puerta, to have your door opened, agua por favor. And then the very first sentence I learned was tengo hambre. So after a few days of me being on basically full lockdown, they did let me sort of mingle with the general population, and everyone was pretty standoffish and respectful, I have to say. I never had to fight for my life ever. I mean, later on, when I started to understand the language and I started getting involved in the politics of prison, yes. But in the beginning, the only thing that I asked for was to be able to work out and to be able to teach fitness.
Okay. And because that's something you did back home?
No, I mean, I'm an athlete. I grew up a soccer player, dancer, like have a really, I have a background in it and I love exercise. I love to work out, but I sort of had this idea that if I could teach fitness, it would create a level of leadership because there's
Okay.
something I can teach you that you don't know, even though you have killed 7 people.
Oh my
There's
God.
something that I can teach you that you don't know,
So how did that,
right?
so how did that work
So
out for you?
really well. So after a week of being there, or 4 days, maybe it was 4 days, but like after that weekend, so it was about a week, let's say, they let me go out into this open room where I saw everybody getting their hair done that first day that I got there. And they basically did an announcement. Hola, si quieren hacer ejercicio, que se salen. I speak Spanish fluently now, by the way, you guys.
Clearly. And your accent is like if I closed my eyes and you were speaking, I wouldn't even know you're like a Toronto girl. You are
That's
like
funny.
you sound just like you were born and raised Spanish.
Yeah,
Maybe not
it's
to them, but
crazy
to
to
me
me
you
because
do.
basically, well, to them too, like the thing that I did also from the very beginning was I completely 100% immersed myself in Panamanian culture. And they call Panama the Jamaica of Central America. Anybody that knows that Panama is very much like Jamaica,
Okay.
very much. And so I was completely immersed in that culture. There were years that I barely spoke English towards the end, right? There
Wow.
were it was like all of the cultural things that they do in Panama that they do in Jamaica. If you need to make a comparison because you don't know what Panama is like, it's just like Jamaica. So all of the way they cooked, the way they prepare food, wrapping your head, braiding your hair, like just all of these little things, girls staying like prestige all the time, well put together, all of those things. And the cultural aspect of the singing, the dancing, the clothes that they wear, the way that they speak, the slangs, all of it. I learned all of it. So that was what I focused on. And that was the coolest experience for me. And it shaped me into who I am today. And that leadership piece that I was just telling you about, I walked out for the first day. They made the announcement and 10 girls came out to work out. They have never worked out a day in their lives, remember? And so they've used muscles they don't know about. I have girls throwing up in the corner. But listen,
Shit.
it became the culture of prison for 4.5 years that I was there. That
Really?
people waited in that morning, waited at the door to come out and exercise with me. And I would do like private exercise classes with girls that couldn't be with the general population, like real gangsters that had to be apart from everybody else. And, I just felt like it was something that everybody needed. And listen, fights were lessened, like in certain moments when certain people were involved in exercise, all of a sudden they weren't getting in fights.
Well, they're
All of
happier
a sudden there
probably.
was like a lot more peace. They're
Yeah.
happier. Their mental health
Yeah.
is stabler, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. That's maybe something that you should start for like prison reform and stuff like that. I know because my
Yeah,
brother's been to
I'm into
jail.
all of that.
My brother's been to jail. My brother's done like a total of like 12 years, right? On and off.
Wow.
And the majority of the time he would come out, he'd be clean and pumped up. Like, he'd be
Yeah, oh yeah.
more fit, right? So, and even his friends, they'd
Yeah.
come out jacked, their necks, arms, like they're just like,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's a totally different episode. But in prison, like,
No, but like that's the thing.
go ahead.
No, that's the thing. That's what you do, right? You have a choice. You either lay down and you do nothing, or
Yeah.
you actually focus on how to better your life. But the thing is that as soon as you walk through those doors, life happens. So you have to find a way to balance it, right? That time that you've taken for yourself and also not getting wrapped up in the temptation of the devil. But I mean, it's the same thing in prison, right? It's all a choice. It's all about the choices you make. And so I had a choice in prison to either be destructive with my time or be constructive with my time. And I thought, no fucking way. Like, I'm not about to lose. I'm going to lose this time. I'm not about to waste this time. Right?
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
it. It was just that.
So that's awesome. But then, what about like, was there gangs and stuff in jail? And like, did you have to deal with any? Like, did you have to? I'm going off like like movie script? Did you have to become someone's bitch or?
Yeah, great question. That changed day to day, year to year, depending on who was there. I kept myself very separate from the different gangs that were in prison because I wasn't going to have anything to do with that. I never became anyone's bitch. I never had to, like, not that there's anything wrong with being with a woman. Listen, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it just wasn't for me. And
Yeah.
I also didn't have to do that in order to protect myself. So
Okay.
I don't know how it didn't happen. I think I really was focused on using the time to better myself. And so, yes, I was in the middle of a ton of like gang violence because even the prison is split in two. So
Okay.
sides were against each other and there's just a big cement wall down the middle. And so like there would be gang fights where people would jump over one side to the other and there's knife fights. And, you know, I've seen girls get like beat within an inch of their life. Definitely. And I've
Oh,
seen girls get cut up and blood everywhere. And, you know, I've seen girls run out of the shower naked and like jump someone else and girls fighting on the ground naked. It became really normal for me. So when I talk about it, I almost kind of feel like, isn't that normal? But it's not. So I
no.
became extremely numb to it. But there was always, it was like, you know, they call it bad girl summer camp, right? So it was like walking into high school again, that anxiety that you have in high school where like girls are talking about you and they're creating gossip and all this, but times that by 500, right? Because now you have weapons involved and now
Wow.
you have mental illness involved and now you have gangs involved, right? And now you have to pick a side and girls have to fight for their life or girls have to fight to defend themselves to make sure that people know that they will, right?
Mm.
And also, a lot of people have never been taught how to manage their emotions, right? And they're
Most people.
sad and they're scared and they're overwhelmed and they're angry at others and they're angry at themselves and they want to go home and they want to see their family and they don't want to be here anymore. And so
Yeah.
think about all of that pent up energy and you can't just take it and take a fucking walk and do some fucking meditation in silence. You don't get to do that. So a lot of the only other way to deal with that pent up energy was against somebody else. And so
Yeah.
exercise for me was the thing that saved me from actually spouting off and hurting somebody else. Because I
You probably saved someone's life by doing that and teaching them. Let's be honest.
maybe.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Those emotions you just brought me down. Like, I want to cry. Like, when you spoke at
It's
Speaker
sad.
Slam, you got off stage, I cried. I was crying. And, because I can't even imagine going through those emotions and what these women and you felt like, or even my brother, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm speechless actually, and that's not very often that fuck sakes.
You know, it's okay. It's okay because here's the thing. It's one of, I think, the five worst things that can happen to you in life, but it can also be the one thing that if you decide for it to change you, it can and it will. And listen, every day I wanted to go home. Every day I wanted so badly to see my family and to hug my mom and hug my dad. And, you know, I felt embarrassed that they had to say that I was their daughter. And, you know, the man that I
Oh,
was with at the time, like I had to leave him behind. And I lost my dreams like that. I lost my dreams like that. And so people see this side of me when I've come out of it, and it's great, but it's not easy. It's not easy because I
so
walk around with the label on my head the rest of my life, right?
well, so you get out of prison. Sorry, I can only cry from this eye, by the way. That's from brain surgery.
Let that cry.
Oh, fuck.
That's a Jelly Roll song.
I fucking love him. Don't you love him?
I love Jelly Roll.
I went down to
I
my
love
nephew
Jelly Roll.
surprised us. He surprised me and
Yeah,
took
you
me
told
down when
me.
he did. Oh my god! Because Jonathan
But
introduced me to Jelly Roll years ago.
yeah,
Um,
and Jelly Roll's a great example of somebody hitting
changing
rock
his life.
bottom and creating their life and changing it, right? And so those are the people that I want to connect with because there is ways and means to get more. and
You
to
know,
be more.
he literally sat on stage. So he speaks to me because of my brother and the way we grew up or whatever. And he was a drug addict, and he sat
Yeah.
there in front of us. It was like 2,000 people, very intimate at whatever club we were in. I forget what the name was. And he goes, "I'm not supposed to be here." And he goes, "And I don't mean like in
Yeah.
Toronto. I mean, I'm not supposed to be alive. Like I should be dead now. And a lot of my friends have died
Yeah.
due to like gun violence, being drug dealers, so on and so forth." And I watch him and his wife,
Mm.
and I want to get Bunny on this fucking podcast. So, my ass is fucking tagging her in this. And I threw one I am that bitch hat
Yeah.
on the stage, and I put a note inside. Whatever. I'm going to try anything, right? But
Yeah.
I watch them, and I love how humble they are. And the people that have
Yes.
been with them the whole time, like coming along their fucking journey, like she helped move her best friend to, I don't know, Texas or whatever, and
Yeah.
open up a boxing gym. Like they're giving back to those people that have never left them. Like I just got fucking chills. And that to me, those are the kind of people that I want to support and buy their music, and not like I was just gonna say somebody, but like there's somebody from Toronto. Everybody
Yeah.
knows I fucking hate this one
Yeah.
artist. And then
Yeah.
he's trying to be a fucking
Me too.
gangster and stuff. And he, like, even my brother, who is like a true bad boy, he's like, he's a fucking he's trying to buy his fucking clout, this clown, because he's a fucking clown.
Well, no, that's what he does.
Listen to the music, The Lost, his song, The Lost.
Okay.
The
Okay.
wording is because he found God. Oh fuck, something like, "I can find my people, but it's not under your steeple."
Mm.
You're amazed where other places where I find Jesus.
Yeah, I love that.
It's just it's once it's on, I know the words and I'm singing along because I play it on repeat. But that is like my theme song right now, called "The Lost," and
Well, it's powerful because it's true, right?
it's so true. Well, look at, if we're going to go
Yeah.
religious just for a moment, Jesus didn't walk around with the good people. He walked around with the people that were
Yeah.
poor and broke and criminals, right? So
Yeah.
so I want to talk about, before I let you go, we've got a few minutes left. I want to talk about, okay, so you're in prison, and we've talked about you being in prison and how you got through it. The fuck did you do when you got out? Like, they weren't there with roses saying, "Oh, we're sorry." Like, what did you
No.
do?
No. So when I got out, basically I had finished 2/3 of my sentence. So at that time, if you can find somebody in Panama, to take responsibility for you and give you a job where they
Okay.
don't pay you, then so take responsibility is you can live with them and they'll give you work, then you
Okay.
can go and
All
you're
right.
free to leave prison. But I wasn't allowed to leave the country until my sentence was finished. So that means if I hadn't found someone to take responsibility for me, I would have done my full 81 months inside of prison. So the father of my child, bless his heart, and this gentleman that we call Uncle Kim, who, it's a long story, but he found out about my story from my family. He lives in Panama and he became a real big advocate for me. They worked together and they found this woman named Sunny Justice. Okay. She built the brand from the ground up, Burt's Bees, that you may know and love.
Birds
She's not
too.
the
Birds
founder,
too.
but oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, but she's that woman. She worked for Vogue. She ran this beautiful luxury Airbnb. So they brought my story to her, and at first she said no. 2 months later, and I'm panicking to get out of prison. I've been working on it for a year, and I'm 15 pounds lighter, and I'm stressed. I'm like, this is it for me, you know? And I need to get out. And she meditated one day, and she said that she felt this deep message that she needed to help me. Called Kim that day. The lawyer went and picked her up. They came to the prison. I remember I had been like praying to God. This is a true story. Praying to God on my knees for days for help. And I walked outside and I remember I saw Kim, I saw my lawyer, and I saw this tall, bald or like short haired woman. And I said, what is this? And I went inside and she told me who she was and she wanted to meet me. And then she offered for me to come and live in her luxury Airbnb in El Valle, which is like this beautiful place, like Fern Gully. It's like the jungle, beautiful place, to live with her, to run her Airbnb, and to help her. She hugged me. She brought me soap. I went inside. A month or two later, I got out. I went to her house, which is this 8-room, beautiful luxury Airbnb with outdoor showers, massage. She had a closet full of clothes for me. And I basically
Wow.
just walked into this new life. And I lived with her for 2 years. She taught me everything I know about business. I learned how to run an Airbnb. I ran it. I ran the page. I built the website. I did everything for it. And I got a new opportunity to live my life. And I basically just like walked into my new life like that. And that was it. Keeping, the discipline and the habits that I had had, right? And just, I am a go-getter. So I feel like I had wasted a lot of time. So I just was there with her, and I got a beautiful massage the day after, and I was showering outside every day. And after not seeing this nighttime for 4.5 years, it was like the biggest blessing to just spend time in nature. And it was the perfect transition into starting my life again.
You're there because, so you're there, you work for her, she's teaching you, but because I know a little bit about you and how far you've
Yeah.
come. So from there, then what happens? Like when did you leave Panama and how did you end up
Yeah.
where you are now in Costa Rica?
Yeah, it's such a long story. I know we only have like a few minutes left, but I
Yeah.
will say this. I was deported after 2 years. I was deported back to Canada. 2 weeks after I got there, I found out I was pregnant. My son is Panamanian. So I had my child, and at 15 months, we came to Costa Rica so that he could meet his father. And then when I got home, I just felt this profound feeling that I needed to be in Costa Rica in order for my son to be able to be with his father. Now, we are not together, but we are co-parenting to the best of our ability. And, the most important thing for me is for my son to grow up with his daddy. That's the most important thing for me. And I will sacrifice everything and anything in my life to make that happen.
That's
That's
amazing.
going to make me cry because my son's name is Justice because Panama took my life and then Panama gave me life. And
Mm.
I am in Costa Rica and I'm doing, property management, and I run this trade show, and I like all of these blessings are happening. I got to do Speaker Slam where I was able to share my story and tell my story. And my goal, just like you have your goals, is to be on a stage in front of thousands of people sharing my story, right? And truly going through the things that I did to take responsibility for my life and find joy in the face of adversity and share the prison wisdom that I have to ignite transformation in other people, right? And that's where my power lies. And as much as I know, Val, that when we are given a purpose in this life, if we don't follow it when we're 80 years old and we're looking back at our life, we're going to feel this empty void
Yep.
of why didn't I do it? Because I was
Yep.
scared, because I was worried that other people weren't going to like it. It wasn't going to be a good career for me. It's like, these are the things that you're going through right now, right? In your life with, you have this power and this strength and you are that bitch and you did Speaker Slam. And it's like, we have these expectations of things to come from it, but now it's the time where God's just going, well, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? You ready? Then let's
Yeah.
go. Right. And
Yeah.
you have this purpose and this voice and this message that needs to be shared with the world. So what's next? Right.
Well,
So
for
when
me,
you're
it's
80
Grand
looking
Slam. I'm
back,
going
you
to
go,
Grand
yeah,
Slam. I'm doing it. I
yeah,
second guessed
girl.
myself and I thought, oh, I'm not sure if I'm worthy, but I'm like, no, I'm worthy. And I'm coming in
You
swinging.
are.
And my
You
husband
are.
pushed me to do it. And he's like, I'd rather you do that
Mm,
than other stuff that doesn't bring that much joy. Like you being on stage brings you joy, and I see it. And people are
yes.
drawn to me for whatever reason. But
Yep.
yeah, I love it. And I
And
know
it's
there's
all a
greater
learning.
things for you and I, and we're going to work together next year. Something big.
Yep.
It's not going to be fucking small. We're creating the opportunities for
No.
ourselves. And we were meant to come together,
Yeah.
right?
I
Like
don't
you
do
and I.
small. Yeah.
We were meant to come together.
That's
You
what
were
we're
meant to
doing.
come on that fucking live. I didn't know who you were. And then I didn't even know your story when we were talking. And then I found out your story and I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, like totally fucking drawn to you. Because your story speaks to me.
Thank
Now,
you.
I've never been to prison. I've lived a really hard life being poor and not enough money for food and whatever. But with my brother going to prison and that exposure and his friends, like, the house being raided and my other brother put in handcuffs. Like
Yeah.
everything in our house, every picture was moved, everything was touched, every drawer was open, every piece of clothing was ripped out. You had like everything was gone through, and like 20 cops fucking
Yeah.
bombarding your house, and guns out. Just it was anyway. So your story speaks to me. Your authenticity I'm drawn to because I hate fake ass fucking bitches. And but I do like when I
Oh,
see that
Val.
somebody's trying to be something that they're fucking not. Like
Yeah.
like my husband would even like he'll even grab me and say, just shut up. Like just don't just just walk away.
Please. Please, Val. Stop. Please. Please. Oh God. Oh God. Please don't. Oh Lord.
Because
Yeah,
I
I
have
hear
no
you. I
problem
hear
with
you.
confrontation.
Right.
But yeah, I have no problem with confrontation. Let's go.
Well, yeah, and let's use that energy towards all the
Yeah.
good things that are coming for you, right?
It's gonna be
And
amazing for
the people
both
that
of
need to hear
us.
that message.
Yeah. It's gonna be
Yeah,
amazing for both of
amen,
us.
sister.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go.
I'm gonna have to have you on because your story doesn't end here. And there's so
No,
much even that you said shared on stage. What I'll do is I'll link your speech below when I
thank
post
you.
this, along with all the information where everybody can get a hold of you. But you need to come on again. There's just so much more to talk about, and
Yeah,
we need to do a part two.
there is. Yeah, I agree. And it's just like the learning part of it, right? It's the story is one thing, but what you've learned and what I can do to teach others is really important too. And people might have questions,
Yeah,
there's a lot that comes in with this and then linking your story and what you've been through and how we can all relate to it, right? I always say it's not about what you've been through, it's like the feelings. We've all felt
yeah,
those same feelings, right?
yeah,
So no one's story is more important, more difficult, more anything than anyone's. It's all based on those feelings and
yeah,
how do we navigate them, right? To better our lives and better ourselves. That's it.
yeah. I love it. All right, girl. Thank
I
you for
love
taking
you.
the time. I love you. You have no idea.
You're welcome.
Thank you for taking the time to come on. I will post everything. This will
You're
be
welcome,
airing
girl.
on Tuesday. And yeah, everybody like, subscribe, comment. If you have any questions, send them my way and I will forward them on to Alana
Amazing.
or I'll post all her information below. I hope you enjoy this episode and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Woo! We love you.